Looks like we're ready to go, possibly. Just checking, see if things are going. Oh my goodness, we're going. We're live. We'll see if... Obviously. Technical difficulties again. I had music going and it was great, and the moment I press record, it stops. That's awesome. Awesome. Hey, how's it going? Facebook's going up. Let me just get the the thingies going. Just want to make sure I'm sharing this. Let's see here. How's everyone doing tonight? Okay, let's see if we can get this going again. There we go. Music. Oh, oh man. Let me know if how's it going, Robbie? Let me know if you guys can hear me, if the music's too loud or if it's not loud enough. Oh, I'm doing well. How about you guys? From Mexico. Nice, Emmanuel. Nice to meet you. You can hear me, but zero music. Okay, zero music. Let's try. Is that any better? Can you hear the music now? Maybe it's just music that I can hear. Nada. What about if I do this? Anything. I've got to kind of fine tune this music thing. I can see my iTunes updates. Is that any better? Let's see. I'm going to try to find let's get that music tuned in. Is that a little bit better? Any music now? I can hear I can hear music. It sounds great. Okay, let me know if it's too loud. Ooh, it's probably too loud. Oh, oops. Music. Okay, so maybe there is music coming. Let me know if it's too loud. Anyways, hi guys. This is like my classic. I like the jazz stuff, so to get me going, I'm just kind of picking up from where I left off last week. I haven't touched this since then. Not at all. Sound lightly. Okay, so the music's not too nice. Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna pick it up from where we left off last week. It's like 10%. Too quiet, I'd say, for the music. Okay. Thank you. We're gonna crank it up. It's got this weird... I've got a new sound thing, so it comes through my headphones really loud. But like, I think it's not playing through the headphones, it's playing through the computer. So I have to... Ooh, that's not what I want. Ooh. Hello? Nice, Shadow. Hello, dear Mr. I just got your pin-up tutorial. It's awesome. Hey, thank you so much. You're the man, or woman. I don't know the could be either. Thank you so much for supporting. I've got some more tutorials on the way. I'll try not to finick around with this sound for much longer. Okay. One more thing I'm going to try with the sound. I don't know what that is. Oh, I'm on the wrong flipping thing. Okay, here we go. Okay, if you can't hear the sound, then I can hear the sound, and it's going to be great. I'm going to feel good about it. Sounds fine. Maybe a little echoey. Yes, for those of you who are just joining, I am also teaching some courses at gumroad.com/redbeard, so go ahead and check those out. But yeah, what we're going to do this week is we're just going to continue on this guy that I was working on last week. You try to compare the new one and the old one. The old one much easier to Z-modeler with the panel loops. Okay, I tried to compare the new one and the old one. This one's much easier with Z-modeler than with panel loops. Oh yeah, the Z-modeler is so much easier to control. I mean, that's why I felt like I needed to do the update, was that the process that I used has changed so much from 5 years ago, especially with the with Z-modeler that has come out and has been amazing. So, oops. It's really, I mean, Z-modeler has really revolutionized the way that I model things. Actually, I might run another Z-model on this bad boy. We're going to do a test. Oh, a test. Mrs. Laureen, how's it going? So I'm getting some pretty bad pinching and stretching there. And I'm going to try to fix that a little bit. And this is just, oh, Momo. Okay, nice to meet you, Momo. Tiago, how's it going? Have I tried Sculptress in my workflow? I haven't. Sculptress is really cool and really powerful. I'm not one who really likes to work with Dynamesh very much, or I like to work from my workflow is very like base shapes, core shapes, silhouette in very small increments, and then once I am satisfied, I'm slowly building up topology. And Sculptress and Dynamesh actually, kind of are the enemies of that. Can be the enemies of that. You get lost in the topology instead of like the form. And I really like to, make sure that I'm focusing on form more than anything else. Just try a little grow. We're just going to do a quick test to see how this thing goes now with a ZBrush pass. And actually, like I use ZBrusher way more than Dynamesh because you're not going to get like weird clipping or weird penetrating. Oh, we're going to talk about conspiracies, Tiago. Don't you worry. How's it going, Ashina? Basically, you have all of my tutorials. They're awesome. I've followed you and Shane Olsen since you did the whole ZBrush summit. Oh, awesome. Well, thank you so much. Those were the glory days. I mean, those are awesome. It was the Disney days. I love that. Some good stuff. Oh, I need to turn off spotlight projection so my smooth works. Okay, let's try. We're going to bring the smoothness down a little bit. We're going to bring this up just a little bit. See what that does. Yeah, I've been away from streaming for a while. It's gotten a little busy. I mean, mainly it's trying to juggle like here we're gonna do this. Watch. So this is getting cleaned up, which is really nice. Yes, but it is getting some funky topology around here. So I'm gonna do some smooth, and then I'm gonna do another ZBrush once I smooth this, and see if I can get rid of some of this funkiness. Like this is kind of a weird junction there. So if I can eliminate some weird polygrouping, then it'll probably fix that. Like this doesn't really need to be there. That can just be a part of this. Okay, one more time. It's a little bit better. Yeah, we'll just keep with that. Because that way, at least I have the loop. See that loop around there? That's what I'm wanting. Yeah, I think I think it's super important to see how other people work because like the streamer who streamed right before me, Ashley, she's amazing. She is really talented, and she works in a completely different workflow than I do. Like she's very good at being able to control a higher poly count, and she makes incredible stuff. So really, like, there's no right or wrong way to do it if you're getting amazing results. I think that's one of the great things about ZBrush is like you can do any workflow that works for you. I mean, that's real artistry, right? Is figuring out what works for you because there's no wrong way when it comes to ZBrushing. I mean, there probably is a wrong way, but we're not going to talk about what the wrong way is. Yeah, that's much better. And all this junk here, like it's weird topology there. We're gonna hide it. Shh, we're not gonna tell anyone. Gonna do some things to help. Get some of these forms, like the key to this kind of sculpture and caricature is like you want the mass to feel right. So we're gonna do some trickery. And I'll even go in with my Z modeler brush because like this is gonna stretch really weird. So I'll insert a couple middle loops so it will hold its form a little bit better. And then I will even enter in a couple edge loops around the edges where I want it to keep its edge really sharp. This way I'm not adding in creases to this. So I'll do a dynamic subdivide and you can see it's going to keep that stuff around the eyes really nice, really clean. So do I use Z spheres for the body or no? I used to. I used to that back in the day. I think it was a really solid workflow to use Z spheres. But I've kind of updated my workflow to do just simple primitives, and I'll block in the whole body, and I'll probably start doing that when I start working on this part of Mr. Pie Guy here, that I'll actually just block in the anatomy with simple shapes, and then I have like all the control that I want. His nose is actually not upturned, it's pointed down. So there's a couple things that I used to be really, really heavy into, and a couple things that I wish that maybe Pixelogic would do if they're listening. If Pixelogic is listening, conspiracy. I'd really like them to visit their Z-sphere rigging again, because the idea of it is really powerful. And I used to try to do it a lot. Like I would build these complicated Z-sphere rigs, and it just wasn't. It didn't have the control that I wanted. Um, Hello, children. Oh, I don't know that. Um, the Teletubbies are your family. Oh, great. And so I'd love to see Z-Sphere rigging kind of have the same overhaul that the Z-Remesher had. It's like the Z-Remesher overhaul was awesome. Oh my gosh, like it's way way powerful one for I think for hard surface. I think it's a real big game changer. But if you use it kind of like the way that I've been using it for the past couple of years, it's so much better and so much more beneficial. Oh, let's make sure I'm not getting the underside of that. Anyways, it helps just bring things to the next level in cleanliness, because the real beautiful stuff happens in like the cleanliness of your models. I'm gonna take off a couple of those. You bought all the figures too? That's awesome. Yeah, the shutdown was so sad. I mean, I had left the studio, and I left for Epic about a month before the shutdown happened, and it was devastating to me. Even like, I mean, it's still devastating to think about because of the talent and the innovations that were happening with that game. It was a real shocker, and you know I think it unfortunately I think that decision was all about like keeping investors happy, and some poor management that was happening as well. But don't take my word for it. Um, but it was really sad. I mean, some of the best people that I know, were just caught in an unfortunate circumstance. Oh yes, you still play. I know. I still get the figures out, and I will play just with my kids, because my kids are still a little too young to really understand the video game. But they'll sit down, and we'll just like playing Disney Infinity to them is just getting out the figures and like, I'm Buzz. Well, I'm Captain America. You know. Hi, what are you doing exactly? Details. Ah, yes. How many polys do you recommend working with an i5? Okay, well that's dependent on what you're sculpting. I mean, I like to go really really low. Like this guy right now is 24,000. I'll eventually get his. I probably won't take his head up past like 3 million. I might even stay lower than that, depending on how many details I want to add into this. But so what I'm doing is I'm just blocking out kind of the core silhouette of this character. Who's asking about like what I'm doing, the details. This is a character that I just kind of sketched up in a coffee shop, at, a local Starbucks arena. a while ago, and it's just something that I thought, this could be a lot of fun to sculpt. So I've blocked out the core details, and I made a base mesh, and then I dynameshed that together, and then I zero meshed that dynamesh with good topology. Hurrah! I mean, this isn't really great topology, but he's just kind of having fun. Anyways. So I am working on a head. And let's see what we got here. Let's give this guy... I like having kind of an eye reflection in there. Just helps give him to life. This one's a little bit bright, but that's okay. We're fine. Wow, how did you do the eyelid without the retopo? Looks great. Yeah, the retopo is really just about controlling your polygroups and learning how to cut things out correctly. And so when you zero mesh it, it knows where to follow. I mean, it's something that I teach in my Gumroad tutorials. Shameless self-plug. That you'll see, where is it? Right there. It's the gumroad.com/theredbeard. My new intro to ZBrush course goes over exactly how I made this topology. And I will also, along with like creating a full character from start to finish, but it also will go over some core details of how what makes good character design, and not instead of just this is how to do something. It also gives you a intro to the insight of like the why you do something one way or another. It's a little bit more 2D centric focused, and it's 3D. It's very technical 3D. I mean, if you don't know ZBrush, you're going to be fine. It's a beginner course, obviously. But I did want to throw in, it's made for someone who's looking to get into stylized characters. Yeah, this stage of like where you're just kind of roughly sculpting out the details is like one of the funnest parts. I agree. It's very relaxing. You're just trying to find, I'm going a little bit, I'm mostly going off this, but I am also trying to take cues of like, okay, where are these breaks going to happen, and how do I solve this and whatnot. So this might be a good enough point where I'm going to start blocking in the other stuff. Let's block in his hat real quick. So I'm a big advocate for ZModeler, so let's just go ahead and show you kind of a quick idea of what I do. So I never start with any of these high detailed shapes. Sometimes I do. Not never, but a little bit. Hi Ed, how's it going? Ed Winter, that's a cool name. Do you have one of the tutorials which focuses a bit more on forms, lips, nose? Yes, so that is my intro course. Is I just go over the bust. I'm going to try to show you my link again. So we're going to do a quick preview. I'm just kidding. Let's see if I spelled it right. Anyways, this is my course. And yes, I go over every aspect of this character. I go over how to sculpt the eyes, the nose, the mouth, the ears. This is more bust focused. Like I'm not teaching full character here, but I am teaching you how to make controllable topology so that if you have to make big changes or something, and reusable topology, like you can take this same base mesh, and this is the same base mesh that I used to create the character that I'm doing now. So as you see, I'm going over and I'm teaching, all these things and more. And it's I think it's 35 videos that are around 25 minutes or 20, less than 20, 10 to 20 minutes per video. So that's my another shameless self plug there. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking a simple cylinder and I'm, placing it to more or less where it's going to be. And then I will just go in with my move brush and let's make sure I've got symmetry turned on. And I'm going to just kind of wrap it like the hat would. Maybe it's a little bit more leaned forward. So in this technique that I'm teaching in that is something that I've been using for a while. Like back in 2017, I guess, I did a demo at CTN where I was teaching this method, and I've been using that method ever since then. So his head's not quite so high. Doing awesome. I've been brushing all day. Nice. Thanks, man. The red beard is more awesome. He's getting there. I'd love to see those ears a little bit more angled. Yeah, we'll get there. Right now, that's just kind of we're getting shapes in. We're not worrying about the details. So yeah, they'll be more angled like this in the final version there. So once I have, this step, I'll start adding in a little bit more topology to further control like how the hat will wrap around his head, kind of rounding things off. And I'm just switching between like just my ZBrush brush and my move brush. And then I can do something like this. Actually, let's do that first. We'll kind of split this side so it's actually starting to get round on all the sides. Obviously, I want it more rounded in the back and more flat up front. So all this time I'm thinking about like shape language and like using the same patterns, like, for the ears, for example, I'll try to go very angular for some of these things, and then I'll go very round. Like he's very angular. Just so I'm going to want to keep that, and then the back is more flat, and I want to keep the back more flat, and even just tap to round off some things to actually help that. So it's kind of got this, this contrast of curves and straights. I was feeling better. Actually, let's pull this hat out just a little bit in the front so it kind of whoosh. Are you guys ready for E3 tomorrow? Oh, I'm very excited. There's some cool stuff happening at E3. I've always wanted to go to E3 just to experience it, because like I didn't ever go with Disney Infinity, and I haven't gone with Epic, but I've always seen like the cool stuff and just the excitement that everyone has. Matt, am I going to the ZBrush Summit? I don't know. I would love to go to the ZBrush Summit. It kind of depends on. I like to go with a purpose. So if I'm doing something, that I would go, or if I'm, it's hard because I'm doing the Lightbox Expo right before then. So if I'm invited out, or if my schedule opens up, I'll be there for sure. Because like the ZBrush Summit is awesome. So I will be at the Lightbox Expo earlier the first week of September, which is very exciting to be a part of. I'll actually be doing a demo there on Saturday. So for you, though, for those of you who don't know, the Lightbox Expo is an art expo for artists and people looking to get into the industry, and it's really cool. Made, I think one of the head organizers is Bobby Chu, who's done really good things for the art industry. Teaching, schoolism. School is awesome. So it'll be fun to go. I don't know what I'm going to be selling there, but I will be hanging out for sure. I'll be hanging out for sure. See, with very simple shapes, I can get kind of the silhouettes that I want, and not have to go into too much detail. It looks like there's a see-through setting at the top right of the screen. Maybe, let's see, I'm missing questions. Looks like there's a see-through setting at the top right of the screen. Maybe he's just using that. I'm in Blender, so just guessing. Oh, I'm missing a question that was asked. Let me see. What's your favorite games about 3D models? I'm kind of old school. Actually, my latest favorite game is like that. The Spider-Man is fantastic. It's an awesome game. Someone was asking about my X-ray. Oh, was it this right here? So this is not a see-through. It's actually part of the Lightbox. So I've imported a texture, and I've added this to my Lightbox by hitting the plus sign there. To Spotlight, not my Lightbox, Spotlight. And so when I have it up, I can actually, I can rotate it. I can change the opacity so it's full or minus. And then I can hit, I've made a hotkey so I can drag it over and just kind of check the proportions. It's not going to be perfect because that's not a perfect drawing. So it's kind of like hit or miss, but But that's all it is. It's just a spotlight that I've put on here. Hope that answers the question. Oh yeah, if you can be at the summit, the ZBrush summit, you've got to go. Like if you're anywhere close or if you can fly out, it is so cool. I mean, you have the best 3D artists in the world all in one spot, which is awesome. Super inspiring. They have all the talks are really well planned and really well thought out. The workshops are incredible. I've been able to teach one of the workshops, but I know last year they had Dylan Eckeren, which is amazing. Like he's just fountains of knowledge. And then you get to like hang out with Paul and see Paul in person, and he is one of my favorite people. He's just genuinely him and just so much energy. It's it's awesome. Matt, have you used the So Much ZBrush add-on, or is it helpful in the work? I've saw the So Much ZBrush add-on, and I haven't used that. I don't know if any of that necessarily helps with my workflow. But I can't speak right now. I want to look into it a little bit more. There was a tool set that I've been using a little bit called Ryan's Tools, I think, and those some of the stuff has been really helpful. Actually, it's been really there. His like simple insert and his smart subdivisions have been really cool. I'm gonna block in his eyebrows real quick too. Let's take off his hat. So this is a tool that I use quite a bit. It's the ZBrush, the topology tool. So, oh yeah, this is split unmasked points. So it generates topology based off of the topology that you draw or that you make. So I'll use that with the Z remesher, and I'll just, whoops, quickly draw out some topology. I don't love using crease very much anymore, simply because I like the cleaner fall offs that you can get. Not that you can't get that with this crease slider, um, but hey, I don't use it. If I can use the Z modeler brush to get a cleaner crease, then I'll just use that. Just making sure. I think I missed this question. On Disney Infinity, did I start with a new character every time or a base mesh? For their, actually, the majority of what I did, I used, I started with just nothing. I would start with primitives and stuff. Sometimes just with the characters that were newer characters and like more test subjects, like I did a lot of those kind of test subject kind of stuff where we were doing a lot of exploring. So like with the Marvel characters, it was all primitives that I would make or slowly build up. But some of the characters we would try to reuse the bodies or things like that. So it's not always true, but the majority of the time, I think I built most of the new characters from scratch. Um, I never used the same starting base mesh for the heads though. I always used, I always just started from zero with the heads, and that was just to make sure that characters weren't looking the same. I'm kind of picky about that kind of thing. I'm gonna make his eyelashes real quick too. Ooh, I should probably save because we're getting up into doing some stuffs. Okay. I'm going to start blocking in his body a little bit too. I'm going to shrink this neck just a teach. Oh, did I already block out his body? I can't remember if I did or not. I thought I already did. Let's see. Maybe I didn't. Ah, well. And I'll probably just model him in. Ashley got some facial hair. Yeah. Ashley's changed. She's she's gone forever. No. She's finished up her stream and she's graciously let me stream now. She's way more interesting than I am. That's for sure. How's it going, Streetwise? It is going well. No complaints here. Does that look about right for his arms? How many times, okay, how many times does it take you to make a full body character sculpture topology pics? How much time does it take? A long time. So from start to finish, like a full character, like let's see, let's see, let's talk about this. First day, okay. We're going to go to the lovely art station. So like for a full character like this, where it's head to toe, text sculpting, high poly, low poly, textures, maps, that's probably a month. I mean, if I'm working on it continually, I mean, the high poly is probably 1 week. The low poly is another week. and then baking and texturing maybe another week. So maybe 3 weeks. I think that sounds about right. Probably 3 weeks. So this is the character that I first developed that ZBrush topology workflow. So I'm going to load in a hand to speed things up. I guess you guys don't want to see my secrets stuffs. Actually, I don't know if I'm going to be using this. Let's just continue with this guy. He's got simple hands. I'm not really sure I want to do like individual fingers with him. I'm going to start splitting this apart. Hey, thanks for joining us tonight, Robbie. Sorry, I'm not talking very much. I'm just kind of figuring out how I want to treat these hands a little bit more graphically and just do it with simple geometry. Um, why am I not using Z-spheres? Haha. Hello, guys. Hey, Skull, how's it going? Matt, I've always been following your work since the intro to ZBrush ages ago. Hey, awesome, Streetwise. Thanks for the support. Basically, I wouldn't be here without the support. I like the the I've got two passions in life of like one just sculpting and making awesome art, but I really have enjoyed teaching, so I'm glad that people have enjoyed some of my tutorials. Um, you mostly use basic primitives, spheres, cubes, cylinders with ZModeler, or sculpt them with Dynamesh in the workflow. Mainly, I use a combination of both. So I will get this to a decent point with just basics, primitives, like this is just cubes. Um, but once I get it to a point, I'll then either start sculpting on it or subdividing it or however. Oops. And then I'll start sculpting on it. Oh, that's what's going on. So notice that like none of this is actually joining topology. It's just simple primitives. Let's get that music going again. I don't know if you guys can even hear the music. Gamer7, thanks. Ashley said I like conspiracies. Yeah. What conspiracy are you talking about? Yes, I do. I love me some conspiracies. Last week, I think we got pretty heavy into how the moon landing was faked. Or thought of. I need a preface that I love conspiracies, yes. It doesn't mean that I believe all of the conspiracies, but I like learning like the history and the thought process behind these conspiracies. Um, so let's talk about a conspiracy. What's a good conspiracy out there that we haven't talked about in a while? If we talked about the Antarctica conspiracy, that's one of my favorites. Antarctica conspiracy, for those who don't know, it would cost more to fake the moon landing than to actually pull it off. I don't know. I mean, set design wise, it's not that expensive, and technology wise, it wasn't that crazy to like you know make it in black and white. They had the thing about faking the moon landing that would theoretically make it less expensive is that one, you've got the knowns taken care of. You know, one, that it's in black and white. Two, that it's there's the audio and everything's going to be really primitive because you're broadcasting from the moon, right? So I think it's possible. Actually, what I really think is possible is that there was so much writing on the John Wick conspiracy. There was so much writing on it needing to work. Like the moon landing, we were in this big race with with Russia and it was a lot of pressure to show, hey, we're gonna land on the moon. So that maybe that there was a contingency plan of like, wait, we've never broadcasted in space before. Is that even possible? And I think that maybe that there was a backup plan if it didn't work out. But I think we landed on the moon. Obviously, we landed on the moon. There's enough evidence to show that we've landed on the moon. Yes, but was there a backup video that was also made? Maybe, I don't know. It's cool to think about. Anyways, let's talk about Antarctica for a second here, because if you guys don't know about the Antarctica conspiracy, then you are missing out, because it's one of the best conspiracies out there, I think. Is that so? The Antarctica conspiracy is this. What program? This is ZBrush. So it's like sculpting in clay. On the computer, though. So the Antarctica conspiracy, which is great. This is one of my favorite ones, and I've probably put more like research and like watching bad documentaries about it than a lot of the conspiracies out there. Is that okay? So one, Antarctica is like the only continent or like land mass that nobody owns. Like nobody has claim to Antarctica. So, which is crazy in the like thinking of the world today, that we have a massive amount of land that's unclaimed. That we have like a united world agreement that nobody owns Antarctica for some reason. Why can we do that and nothing else? So one, there's that. And then two, like Antarctica is super rich with minerals and oil, and like it's super rich. Like there's no reason that people wouldn't. I mean, there's probably a bunch of big companies that all want to mine and drill Antarctica because it's so rich with minerals and oil and all sorts of stuff that make big companies money. So the thought of like, okay, so why isn't it claimed, or what's why is it the only unclaimed land? So there's like a treaty, and back in the World War II days, like Germany was trying really hard to get to Antarctica and to claim it for some reason. So the idea is, and this overlaps multiple conspiracies, is that Antarctica is the home base for like alien civilization. This is going to get real good. um, and that we can't claim it because that is alien life forms continent. But see, the crazy thing is, like, yeah, it's negative 550 degrees and like they're horrible weather conditions and things like that. But all the world leaders across the world, mind you, from like 1960 have all been to Antarctica for like a week or two at a time. All of the world leaders, like all the presidents going back decades, have all been to Antarctica. The royal families have been there. Prime ministers, kings and queens have all been to Antarctica for like an extended time of like 1 to 2 weeks. Like Obama's been there, Bill Clinton, George Bush, the royal family, like Prince Harry and the Queen of England, and like they've all been there at one time or another. So, which is kind of weird for like a desolate, hard to reach place. I mean, it's cool there. Obviously, it's cool there. I don't know if Trump has been there because like Trump likes to golf and puts ketchup on his steaks and is kind of a goof, kind of. Anyway, so different topic for a different time. But Obama, yes, Obama's been there. And so the idea is that it's there's a gateway. There's like these big massive tunnels, and there's like you can go to Google Maps and you can see these big giant massive tunnels that are all over the place. And one of the thoughts is that the Earth, and this is where it starts to overlap a couple different conspiracies, is that the Earth is in fact hollow. Aren't you glad you guys came to watch this to this stream? That the Earth is not solid, it's hollow. And that inside the Earth lies inside the Earth lies the inner Earth society, where it's not just one alien race, but multiple alien races all live inside the Earth. And it's like a melting pot of alien species. And they all come, like the grays are down there, the blues, the lizard people are down there. Like, they're all down there for some reason. Apparently the weather's really nice. I don't know. But that's like the main conspiracy, is that there's actually like the inner Earth society, and the leaders of the world have to go because they have to go and communicate with these alien races. So it's all real. Anyways, it's just interesting to learn about Antarctica, and then to like find out like, well, that's kind of weird, like in this day and age, that nobody owns Antarctica, that no one's gone in and drilled Antarctica, and like all these things, and then that all like these huge government people have been there from all over the world at one time or another. Told you this would be fun. What keeps it from collapsing? Oh well, it's not completely hollow. It's like, have you ever been in like a cave, like a that's like stalactites and stalagmites? So it's like an hollowed out core that's still held together with massive walls and caverns and stuff. It's like that. It's like a sponge. The Earth is like a sponge, and inside this sponge, if you zoom in, those little like holes inside the sponge are actually giant, like enough to hold like entire, you know, thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of alien of aliens, of course. Anyways, so the Inner Society is really cool, and like, there's a great documentary if you ever need to see it about a guy who went and visited the Inner Earth Society, um, and it is the most hilarious thing because he's in the secret space program. For one, he was in the secret space program, which their formal name of the secret space program is the secret space program, obviously. And so they call it that, the secret space program, or the SSP. I think that's what they call it for short. But they literally just call it the secret space program, which is funny. Oops. So he was assigned to go meet with and delegate with the Inner Earth Society people. But he was supposed to be like the assistant. He was not, and he made it clear several times that he was not the one in charge. He was like the third, he was like the assistant to the one in charge. But when they got there, all that the aliens wanted to do was hang out with him and not the general. And that made the general really mad. And he kept talking about like, oh yeah, and this guy, he was just always mad because they were playing with me, and them to play with him, and then he talks about meeting like one of the leaders of the Inner Earth Society, and he alludes that he says that she's this beautiful sentient being, and that she would ask him several times to just come with him by himself without anyone else. So he alludes that he basically got with her, and they have like a loving relationship, or had one. I don't know. It is so funny, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is just so good. It's so good that it can't be true. Yes, conspiracy theory time. So like the whole thing, this whole time is this guy is like basically just saying how he is great, and so great that he got to get with the leader of the Under Earth Society, um, and oh my gosh, it is just the funniest thing in the world. It's so good. So it's just good. It's just good stuff. I'll debate on adding thumbs to this guy. Maybe that's the conspiracy that we're really interested in. Yeah, sounds like basically no, he has another one. The same guy they interviewed when he was in the secret space um, program that he was assigned to go on a mission where he had to travel back in time hundreds of thousands of millions of years to the creation of the Earth, where he learned that the Earth is not actually a planet. And this kind of contradicts like some of his things that he's said is that one, he's not. Anyways, he has said that the moon is not in fact a moon. It is a it is a planet. No, it's not a planet. Sorry. Oh, Odd Juano, how's it going? I'm finally back-ish. I'm back-ish. Um, Anyways, the moon is actually a spaceship that was sent by the, what did he call them? The superhumans, these beings that were giants. And they created mankind. And basically, it's basically like they were just super. They were the Marvel equivalent. I mean, they were the Marvel like Colossus people that they talk about or reference. So he went back in time and he met with these superhumans, and again, the same guy that was bugged with him before was still bugged with him because he was not supposed to be in command or have any say, but all the super sentient beings just wanted to talk with him. But he talks about going on this mission. You can either never come back because you're old and they don't know how to reverse the aging process. Or they can reverse the aging process, but you can have no memory of your time there. And so that's how he came back. And then the interviewer, who was supposed to be like on his side of like of like oh, so how do you remember this if you were sent back? And then the guy said, oh, well, I figured out a way how to unlock all of my memories. So I have the memories of a million-year-old being now. And it's so good. It all has to be true. It all has to be true. A spaceship made of volcanic rock, yes. In all likelihood, an alien would not be what a human would be described as sexually attractive. Oh, that's funny. It's so good though. Anyways, those are the conspiracies that I've got today. We can dive more into like the inner Earth Society, um, and why that's important. I can't remember necessarily why it's important. So we've got about an hour left. For those of you who are just joining with us or have just been listening to Conspiracy Rants, I don't just talk about conspiracies. This is going to be the shameless self-plug. I also teach some Gumroad courses from beginner to advanced, found on my Gumroad, gumroad.com/redbeard. One more hour of conspiracies. Yes. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it, at least. Anyways, get the shameless self-promotion out of the way. let's just quickly block in that bow tie too. Um, how did you get into 3D character art? I'm going to just see this other question. I like to think that there are species is kind of a probation to let into kind of intergalactic. That is true. The amount of development, even in like the past, you could even say that in the past like 50 years, the amount of progress we've made is like crazy and normal. Yes, I also agree to that. Let's answer the question of how did I get into 3D character modeling? Well, I was always I always enjoyed doing art as a kid, you know, like I was a good artist. I drew a lot, but I also was a realist in the fact that like my 2D art was good. It was fine. But it wasn't great. It wasn't like next level stuff. And I really I didn't know if I could make money being an artist. So it really never occurred to me like in high school or anything that I could, you know, become a professional artist because really at that time what I thought a professional artist was like fine paintings. And I didn't do fine paintings very well. Like I did they were okay. Um, but it wasn't anything like no one would spend thousands of dollars on my fine paintings. So um, I was just kind of like, well, I like dentistry. I worked at a dental lab in high school too. Like I could just be a dentist. I think that's a cool thing. My dad's a dentist. Um, so why not? I'll be a dentist. Dentistry's cool. I like my dad, you know. So so I just kind of figured that I'll just be a dentist. And so I, you know, just kind of went along that with that mindset of like, okay, I'll just, you know, say you become a dentist, and then all of a sudden, um, Incredibles 2 came out, and never before had I seen 3D people, cartoon stylized people made so well. And it just was for some reason it was like a lightning bolt. And I was like, "Oh, I could make characters. I could do that." And so I was like, "Yeah, let's do this. I'm going to do it." And I went to go get into school, and one, the grades of an artist aren't all that great. At least this artist right here, this guy. So I ended up like trying to figure out how to get into, you know, to a modeling course. And so I got into college, and it it was really kind of depressing as I got in, and the first day in the 3D program, they sat us down and said, okay, so just so you guys know, we're not touching 3D or 3D modeling for the first year and a half of this program, of this 4-year program. Incredibles 1. Yeah, Incredibles 1. Yeah, I worked at a dental lab. I made these teeth right there, the four front teeth. They're veneers. I sculpted them out of clay and then cast them in porcelain. Um, do I always work with perspective off? When I'm using Z modeler, yeah, and then I'll switch back to when I'm sculpting. I'll switch perspective back on. Anyways, Incredibles 1. Yes. Uh, and so I went into this class and the 3D program, and they said, yeah, you're not touching. It was the multimedia 3D program. And they sat us down and said, you won't be touching 3D for the first year of the program, which like I was just extremely depressed. And I'm like, oh. So after one semester, I decided that that's not for me. I'm kind of the guy that likes to just, when I want to do something, I just want to do it. I want to focus on it and just like inhale as much as I can. And that's just how I learn. And it was like really frustrating to hear that like that wasn't possible if I went to college. Plus, I'm all taking history and math and all this other stuff that has no bearance to like what I'm actually wanting to do. Not to knock anyone who likes math, but it was kind of frustrating into the fact that I couldn't actually study what I wanted to study until many years later. So I was like, well, what am I going to do? And then I figured, oh, maybe I'll just teach myself graphic design. And so I became a graphic designer. I taught I went and I found a graphic design studio and I applied for a job in their customer service department. And I just said, I want to become a graphic designer and I really just want to be around graphic designers to help me learn and help me progress. And so they gave me a job and I was in customer service for a while. And after 6 months of learning, teaching myself Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop, they saw me working with the designers there. And then they said, hey, tomorrow you're applying for the graphic design job. And so I was hired as a graphic designer and I worked as a graphic designer for 5 years. I worked and I was making websites and logos and brochures and billboards and signage. And so I did all sorts of stuff. And I was happy. I was good at it. I really liked it. I always still wanted to do 3D, but I didn't know how it was going to be possible. And I just didn't know where to start. Like I even tried to take like a little, I tried to take even a little like community college course one year. And, it was actually probably the best thing I could have done because even though like I didn't learn anything in that community college course, um, but like they had ZBrush at the school, and they didn't know how to teach it, and I didn't know what it was, and so I didn't use it. And then I like learned Maya, and I built this like robot thing that was crappy, but I thought it was really cool. I thought it was awesome, and I had in my neighborhood, I was the head of the animation department at a university, and I was like, I'm gonna show him this because I think it's pretty awesome, and he's gonna see like I'm some prodigy, and it's gonna be great. I'm like, I'm gonna just like, I'm, looking for someone to like say, "Good job, man." Um, and so I go and I show him, and he looks at it, and he looks back at me, and he looks at it, and then he looks back at me, and he says, um, "So what did you spend like a couple hours on this a week for a couple of weeks?" And I'm like, yeah, because that's what it was. Like I had, a couple hours a week in this class, and he, in a very, very nice way, told me that I sucked, which was good. It was kind of hard to hear, but he said, if you really want to be good, you have to dedicate like 30, 40 hours a week to this, or you're just not going to go anywhere. And that was the end of the interaction, and I was like, I kind of walked away, and I was like, freak, he's right. And I looked at it with closer eyes of like what he saw, and but it was a turning point for me, because I was like, okay, well, if I'm gonna do this, I either have to go to school full time, or I have to figure out a way to do it. And so I started looking for options. And just then I started looking for options, a school opened up in Seattle that they just taught 3D modeling, for 9 months. It was a 9 to 5 school, so from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock, Monday through Friday, they taught you Maya and ZBrush and 3D Studio Max and texturing in Photoshop, and they brought in professionals from the studios there, from Valve, from Zombie, I think it was Zombie something Studios. We had workshops with concept artists, and they brought in puppet, like classic puppet artists. I mean, it was really, really pretty cool, and it was an amazing experience. I'm just tuning this a little bit. So it was 9 months, and when I was there, I mean, my wife stayed here in Utah, and I went there and quit my job, and said, this, we're gonna go for it, and we did. So my wife supported me, and I went, and I went to school 9 to 5, and I studied really hard and worked really hard, and then I would go home and I would watch tutorials, and I would do pretty much all that I could to, when I finished the program, have a decent enough portfolio to get like an internship at least. That was my whole goal, was like, okay, I've got to bust this out so I can get an internship somewhere. And when I finished, I had a decent portfolio. I had three pretty solid pieces that showcased, environment and texturing and UV mapping, and I was able to get in at a small studio. Um, so I was kind of late to the game in starting my 3D career. Like I didn't start until I was 26, probably 26. So I had to feel like I had to catch up if I was going to compete with internships, from the youngins graduating college and getting in. So, but it was awesome. The school is not around anymore. Unfortunately, it didn't last much longer after our semester, which is a shame, because it was really cool. It was different, and I think it suffered from a couple of things, but for me, it was life changing. Matt, I recently saw there's an opening at your job. I was wondering if you knew what the possibilities of a foreign artist getting sponsored to work in the States. Ooh, that one's really hard. Right now, they aren't sponsoring any visas that I know of. Uh, and I'm not necessarily, I don't really know why. I mean, I think it's because it's really hard, actually, for both employer as well. Um, but they also, they do have many studios outside of the U.S., like Montreal. I think there's one in Poland. Uh, I mean, they're all over the place. So I think maybe that's another reason why. But no, they're not. They're not doing any sponsorships right now. But I also could be wrong. Yeah, you should check out the openings from the Montreal studio. So I think that is actually even a newer studio. So it might be, more feasible. But again, I don't I only know so much. So the thing with like getting your dream job, like I get that question asked quite a bit of like how do you get the dream job? Like how does that? Why aren't you sculpting? You know why? Is is mainly just prepare, like try to get your portfolio and your skill sets and your just be ready for when the opportunity is there because that's really, I mean, that's really the number one thing that anyone can do is just get ready for your opportunity, because you'll never know when it's going to happen. So that's my little spiel, I guess. Just be ready. Hello, Artabella. Artabella. Hey, we should get back to conspiracies. What other good conspiracies are there? The mattress store conspiracy. What's the mattress store conspiracy? I don't know if I've heard of the mattress store conspiracy. Is it that all the mattress stores actually own all the deliver the delivered mattresses? They're just tricking us all into thinking that buying a mattress that I've never sat in before will be beneficial. How long did it take me to get my first job? My first job there. Hey, great job there. My first job, it took, well, I mean, this is up for debate too, because you know, when do you start looking for your first job? So my first job, once I had my portfolio ready, which took a, a good amount of time, right? Um, I didn't rush to start applying um, for jobs when I finished my school. Um, my school did help get the majority of my portfolio pieces, but I still probably had one or two that I needed to get to a better spot before I started applying. And so I took my time a little bit. I mean the whole school was like 9 months preparing for your portfolio, and then they released you out into the world. So 9 months, 10 months to really prepare for my portfolio, and then I started applying. Once I finished the school, it was another month before I actually started applying anywhere, um, because I needed to finish a couple of my portfolio pieces to be a little bit better. And after that, after I finished my portfolio piece, it was a couple of weeks before I got a job. And I had a couple of freelance opportunities as well. But the main thing to remember is that, like, yeah, that was kind of it sounds quick to get your first job. Um, One, it was, I believe it was the season. Like when I was applying was like right before graduation when people were looking for internships. and I would just happen to have like a really solid portfolio for a starter. I would think, um, and and I also my first job was like at I was willing to take anything, and I did. I took this really crappy job at a small garage studio. I mean, it wasn't even a garage; it was the storage area of an abandoned dollar store. Get that music going again. And so it it wasn't anything it wasn't anything glorious, but it was a lot of experience really quickly, which was nice. And it made me really want to hate it made me really hate life at one point, like at one point because the hours were so crazy bad that like I mean it was like 12 to 14-hour days average for months on end that like I considered I think I went home one night and I was like I'm just going to get a job at McDonald's. It's not worth it to do this anymore. And I remember just like being really this is after like a year and a half of working there and having these conditions just like crazy. Our timelines, because it was a low budget studio, we would undercut all these other projects so we could get work. And it was so bad. It was miserable. And like, I would remember like going to work and not seeing the sun ever because there's no windows there. So it was just really frustrating. And then when like I had almost lost all hope, then I got a call from Disney, who was the real studio that I wanted to work with in Utah. Um, I had applied for an internship the previous year at the same time that I got this job at this small garage studio, and they called me up and they asked if I would apply to a contract position that was opening up, a character contract position, because I they had seen some of the new work that I was doing, not at that game studio because the game studio we produced crap. Um, it was just some of the free, it was some of the side project stuff that I was doing that got their attention. And so they had me apply. I went in and I had just a mustache at the time, and I would look kind of creepy, but somehow they thought it was cool and they hired me. Um, ooh. So if you Google mattress stores near you, most of the time they're all very close to each other, like 1 mile away or so. Also, have you ever seen people in these stores buying mattresses? No. The conspiracy goes that the reason that these stores are nearby is because there's money laundering, and the only way to store all this money is by hiding in the mattresses. And since no one is ever at the stores, it's a perfect way to hide it. Ah, that's awesome. I'm gonna go buy a mattress. That's true. There's like mattress districts. There's like literally okay, so we bought a mattress like a while ago, and there was like, "Oh, you got to go to the mattress district," and that's how it is. Like all those mattress stores are like right there. Maybe they're all so are they all laundering money uh, together? That's really funny. But you gotta buy the one on display. I want that one, the one that's behind your desk. Ugh, I don't want that one. I want one of the other displays, one of the money field ones. Is that what I say? Is that what you say to get the laundered one? And then you just, when you get it home, you knife into it, cut it open, and like dig out until you find the money. And then if it's not there, you obviously return the mattress. That's one of the weirdest ones for sure. They also hid the mind control mites in the mattress. Exactly. That's where you put them. It's got a little too thick. I really want those like skinny wrists. So what I'm doing to make these sleeves, I'll just explain this real quick, is I am quickly selecting just a bunch of faces that would make up the sleeve. And as I Q mesh, I hold control, which Q meshes out, it just separates the topology. So I'm essentially just making a sleeve. Separate. Oh. Split hidden. And then I just go in again with the move tool, the move brush. And turn on double facing. That and Coke. Oh man, if Coke's in there. Coca-Cola. What's the difference between Q-mesh and extrude though? That is also a conspiracy. I don't know. I don't know if there's anything difference between Q-mesh and extrude. Mainly that Q-mesh is on by default and extrude you choose as an option. So I think there's different. Q-mesh I think does some snapping and like aligning. Like you can snap one poly to another, or like you can do things like that. But I think extrude doesn't have any of those. So you can extrude without the snapping, I guess. Maybe. This is why we need Kyle here. Kyle! What does extrude do? Kyle's my favorite. Mask and then inflate an inflate balloon for cloth folds. Oh, to do, yeah, that's one way. Yeah. I normally like to block in cloth folds with um, this this SK cloth brush. We'll just quickly do it, and then I'll go back in and mask, and then kind of go back, kind of layer those things in on each other. I just don't know if you'll ever see his thumbs. So if he's like this, let's see how he is. I don't think you'll ever see his thumbs. Debating on doing his thumbs, but maybe later I'll just do his thumbs. I don't know. Because this one's covering it. And that one. Let's see. Do you think having a portfolio with only stylized characters, environments, etc., solely because that's your preference is a good idea, or should you have realism, anatomy studies, and that too? That depends. If it's your first job, well, one, I think yes. I think you should cater your portfolio to what you want to do. Hey Matt, is the Twitch channel URL on the bottom correct? Can't seem to find the channel. I don't know, actually. It maybe, let me see. Let's take a little look. See here. What is my name? Oh, I think. Sorry, I might be something else. Um, I think this is my Twitch. Oh, this is this is my Twitch. That is not correct. Thank you for pointing that out. It's actually this. Somebody should fix that. Oh, whoever put that in is a real knucklehead. It was this guy. So sorry. Um, the Red Party. That would be cool. I wish I was Tom Hardy. He's cool. Anyways, back to the question of should you do stylized, if that's what you want to do, if you want to do stylized environments. I think the majority of your portfolio should be, yes. But if you don't have a job, if you haven't had a job, I should say, then I think you should add some variation to what you have. So when I first got in, like my goal was I wanted a job at the Disney studio in Utah. So my portfolio was one stylized character, one stylized environment set. It was like a little set that I made that was all stylized, and then I did one realistic prop. Like I made a gas station, like an old timey gas station that was realistic with realistic textures, and then I did what did I do? A realistic horse. And that was my portfolio. And it got me a job in my first studio, which was good because they could see that I could do a variety of different things, and because they were a studio that did a variety of different projects, it was more valued than someone that could just do stylized or that could just do realistic. So as I worked there for a year and a half, I still had the goal of like, okay, well, this is not what I want to do. I don't want to be at this studio forever, and I realized I really wanted to be a character designer, a character artist, which I was doing along with environments and a bunch of other graphic design. I did a lot of graphic design actually at that studio, more than I wanted to because I had already given up wanting to do graphic design. And so what I changed my portfolio was when I was getting ready for Disney, I took off the realistic gas station. I kept the horse, of course, and I took off all props actually. And I started replacing it with stylized characters, when they were ready. And so my portfolio slowly became, instead of like this guy is a 3D modeler, he was I was I was gearing up to just show that I was a character artist. So no matter who was seeing my portfolio, they would know that I'm a character artist. That's what I did. And so that's kind of the steps of what I would say. So yes, I think you need to have the majority um, to be what you want, but you also should show what you can do more than that too. Hey, it's Ashley. It's John Adams coming all the way from Canada. How's it going? I apologize for so much. How's it going? I saw a little bit of the end of your stream. It was pretty rad. Ashley, when are you gonna do the sculpt off for Pixelogic, the ZBrush Summit? I want you to go in there and like destroy. It's going so tired. Hey, thanks. We're getting there. He's still like no detail at all. Just big shapes still. Have they announced the dates? I don't know if they've announced the dates. No way. Ashley, if you ever want a good laugh, if anyone wants a good laugh, they should go back and they should see my last sculpt off attempt at the ZBrush Summit, because it is the worst the worst thing that I've ever done, and like so bad that I would never put it out. I would never put it on any social media or anything. It was so it was so bad. But like the only reason like I want to do the sculpt off again is just to have something that doesn't suck so much. I don't even know where it is. Like but that would be funny if I could even find it. The ZBrush Summit sculpt off. I would think maybe 2000. What year is this? Maybe 2015. Um, let's see. I don't even know. I hope maybe they do have it somewhere. It is so bad. Like it was so bad that like I think I just was like, "Oh my gosh." Oh my gosh. It is so bad. Okay, I found a bad picture of it. It's so bad. I don't want to I don't want to show it. It's so bad. Um, I want to find a bigger picture of it. All I can find is like a one with with many. Let's see. Let's see. I guess this is the only thing that I can find. Um, mine is this crappy one. Where is it? Is right here. Like I'm not gonna make it any larger than this, but it is so bad. It's worse than I remember. Oh my gosh. It was like I think the theme was like organic, um like plant plant organic. Oh, I can't. I don't even know how to make it bigger. Oh no. It's so it's so bad. This this girl and I had this idea that I was gonna do this like beautiful Disney princess that had like a flower for hair and dress, and it just for some reason I took off the nose. It's so bad. It was like the most massive fail that I've ever experienced in anything before. Oh my gosh. It's oh no, you found the YouTube. Please don't watch. Actually, you'll see how confident I am. It took such a wrong turn. It was so bad. You'll see how confident if you watch that YouTube video. I'm like 1 hour in and I'm like having a great time. Um, I feel good. I'm in a good spot. And then and then something happens like crash my computer. My computer crashes in about an hour in and all hell breaks loose for me. I cannot recover. And like the decisions that I start making are so bad. It's so funny. So, anyways, that's the only reason. Maybe I don't want to do the sculpt off again. 'Cause it was just the worst outcome. Oh, it was really bad. I survived. That's all that matters. That's all I was. That's the thing is, I don't care. Yeah, I was just disappointed because it was so bad. Um, it was bad, and the only reason, like, because I just felt like I wanted to do something that at least didn't suck, but it was so bad. I think I had like a couple pity votes because because of how bad it was. You're like, oh, look, he tried. Oh, like it was just so bad. Anyways, that's all. That's all I got for you. But it's pretty funny, kind of like reliving it and thinking like, because I also like was really busy. I think I was preparing. Oh yeah, so I was doing a workshop at that summit, and I think that was the same year that Shane and I did the presentation. So I was preparing for the presentation. I was also teaching a workshop and doing the sculpt off. And I thought, oh, this is gonna be fine. And I had like sculpted to I hadn't really tested it. I had never I didn't really practice for it either. I was just like and I didn't draw a concept until on the plane to California. So anyways, it was pretty bad though. Anyways, I feel like at least I could maybe do. Maybe I can't do any better though. Maybe speed sculpting isn't my jam. But I keep saying, well, like, oh, well, Ashley's a phenomenal speed sculptor. She every week she makes something amazing in like 2 seconds. So I think you'd rock the Casbah, as they say. Yes, you would. I could be there and I'd be cheering you on. I'd be like, yeah, go. And then I'd make a shirt with the picture of my sculpt on it, and I would wear it. Oh, woohoo! um, that's what we are missing. A 3D sculptor manga. I don't know if I understand that reference. Like we need more manga sculpting. I've got about 10 more minutes. No, a manga about the life of this. Oh, a manga about the life of a 3D sculptor. that that would be. Um, I was just talking about this today about um, with people at work because I grew up and I didn't really experience anime. And so like I am experiencing it now as an adult because I have people at work who are really big fans. And we were talking about this like this concept that is done that anime takes regular things and makes them awesome. Like ping pong, like all of a sudden he throws up the ball and the ball bursts into flames and his racket goes and it tornado around the racket and he smacks it and then the guy goes "Ah!" um, just like that. Like these regular things they make awesome. Like eating food, I guess, is one is one of the shows, or making food or something. Um, and I'm like, well, this could be great. You have you have an anime, a manga or whatever of the life of a 3D artist. Then I'd pull out my stylus, whoosh, and everyone would go, whoa, and and then I'd draw a derp, and then everyone would go, the little face, because I'd watch that show. Um, Scene of the sculpt off day. Yeah, I think that would be really funny. You've got all the artists that are like, ah, making these dramatic brush strokes and then the timer ticking down and the beads of sweat coming down. I think it'd be great. Actually, there are an anime called New Game, and it's about the life of character artists in the studio at Japan. Ooh, that's cool. They have 2 seasons. I might have to check this out. I even got a subscription to the Crunchyroll. Is that what it is? Is it on Crunchyroll? I wonder. I would watch that. I'm actually watching for the first time. What is it called? Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. And let me tell you, there's some real depressing stuff that happens in that. And like I'm expecting this happy little show about this guy that bends metal or something. Um, Man, like episode 3, I was in full on depression. I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but man, that show got real dark real quickly. It just got so dark. Homunculi. So good. He's got to get more neck rolls in the back. Probably too much. That's probably enough, though. Have I seen Blue Exorcist? It's not sad, but it is death dark. No, I haven't. Blue Exorcist. I'm gonna have to put that on my list. I'm like trying to slowly cross things off my list to be cool, so I can finally be cool. Oh boy, you may not know what you're getting into. I don't know what I'm getting into. I had no idea what I was getting into, and it was like so dark. Like I just remember like watching. I'm like, oh my gosh, no, no, what are you doing? Because like I'm used to. And this is I think what where it is. I'm used to like American cartoons where they're turtles and they fight bad guys and they don't kill them or brutally murder them. They just they kick their butts and like that's good. That we call it good. Nobody dramatically violently dies or gets stuck from their soul into something or you know nice wholesome Care Bears or the gummy bears who drink their gummy berry juice and then they beat up the bad ogres and like this is the world that I've come from and this is a dark scary world. Have you seen 1 and 2 in Crunchyroll? Have I seen 1 and 2 of what? Of Full Metal Alchemist? No, I don't know. I think I'm only like 12 episodes in. I think there's like 40 something total. I also watched them dubbed, which I've already been told that that's not pure and I'm dumb. But I have to. The only way I can watch it is if I'm also like sculpting in the background. So you better believe if I'm not sculpting, I'm watching poor kids be turned into homunculi. This poor guy, he doesn't even know about the homunculi. But I'll put Blue Exorcist on my list. I also have what's on my list. No, I watched Gurren Lagann. That was pretty good. That was really good. It was hilarious. The like crescendo of like everything like at the end they're just galaxies fighting, like they're the size of galaxies fighting, which is pretty funny. Um Soul Eater. I watched Soul Eater. That was pretty good. I liked that one. Um I saw the Death Note one, which was also fun. I've just got a couple more minutes. Does anybody have any questions? So I'm going to sign off here in just a little bit. Ooh, Blow Exorcist gave you vibes from Soul Eater. Okay, then I'm gonna do that because I really liked Soul Eater. That was awesome. What I like was like complete stories. A question here: when you finish Full Metal Alchemist, add Helsing Ultimate to your list. Okay, I can do that. Helsing Ultimate. Hey Matt, can you talk a little bit about what is working like on Disney Infinity? How did you guys manage to keep the designs consistent between many modelers? That's a great question. So I loved working on Disney Infinity. Disney, that was an awesome project. We got to see a lot. I got to do a lot of different things, work on some of the most iconic characters ever made. It was awesome. Um, it was I mean, to get the style evolved. You see like Infinity 1 to Infinity 2. The style evolved quite a bit, and it was a group effort. I would think that we worked really closely with the concept artists, and there was a lot of back and forth. We worked with some really amazingly talented concept artists. Uh, John Diesta and Jason Kim, Matthew Armstrong, um, Sam Nielsen was there for a long time too. Um, just amazing concept artists, and we worked really really closely. Like there was a lot of iterations between those two. Um, so it was really a group effort of you know constantly getting feedback and you know trusting the art team that we were all pushing to make the right decisions together. It wasn't about you know who could do the coolest sculpt or whatever. It was all about creating the end product. So I really loved, the art team over there. It was some of the best awesome sculptors. Yeah, I mean, you had Shane Olson, um, who you guys know. He was awesome. He's one of my favorite people. Chris Wright, who if you don't know, you should know. He's one of the nicest, most awesome dudes, and he's the guy who gave me my shot. Pretty much, he kind of saw some talent in me somehow, and really gave me the shot to show my stuff. Um, so I hope that answers your question. So how long one character? I mean, we were moving pretty quick because one, we kind of had to stack everything because the manufacturing for all these characters took a really long time, and they needed them for the game. So the characters one are already on priority number one. So we would start the characters, you know, well before even any of the stuff is being made for the game. So like for Infinity 2, we were working on the characters basically from the moment we launched or before we launched Infinity 1. We were working on Infinity 2. We had already known that it was Marvel and that what the character list would be, and the character list doubled pretty much. I think it almost doubled. I went from like 22 to like 38. Um, and so each character had to be done months, like almost a full year in advance. So I think it was 9 months in advance to be able to get manufacturing and prototyping and finished boxed models done in time for launch. So we were moving through characters pretty quick, but it was still, I would say, 3 weeks per character for the team of five or so. And some went faster and some went longer. But it was probably that cadence of probably close to 3 weeks a character, and that's just the model. That's just the figure because we would prototype, we would 3D print in house. We would do the prints ourselves. We'd set up the prints and take them down and clean them up and clean up, set up the 3D printing machine and stuff. Um, I'm not getting any texture out of this. What did I do? Oh, the focal shift. There we go. Got a little growth going on. We'll see if I keep this. Yeah, the work varied a lot. It was really awesome. I mean, it was awesome. I don't know if there'll ever be another project like it. It was a lot of fun. I mean, Fortnite's pretty cool too, though. I've only done a little bit of work on Fortnite, but it was a lot of fun. Um, so what did Disney have you work on that you were allowed to tell us? Disney, I mean, everything that I did the just I think I ended up doing like 20 characters all in all for Disney Infinity, something like that. The only characters that I made that weren't released were one. I did someone from Rogue One. I did the blind guy. I did the last character that I did was Moana, and that was probably the saddest one because I loved that character and I wanted it so bad to be. I fought for the design because we had some disagreements on the design, and I really pushed to keep the integrity of the character of like what I knew about the character intact, and we kept it the way that I wanted it, the way that I wanted, and it turned out awesome. It was great, and I loved the movie, and it just that's when the game was canceled and they stopped Moana in mid production. So she was before any of the prototypes were made. So, oh, thank you. Darth Maul is awesome. Thank you. He was a lot of fun to work on. Um, the real characters were hard because you wanted to get the likeness, but you also wanted it had to be Disney Infinity, right? So it was like for I mean it was just a lot of trial and error. Like I remember being late there one night when I was doing Han Solo, and Han Solo had actually passed through a bunch of different artists, but like his face just never felt it didn't feel like Harrison Ford. Um, and so I took it and I started sculpting on it, and then I just grabbed our concept artist Jason Kim, and we sat down and I said, okay, let's figure this out. And we sat down for like an hour and I just refined, his face, and then all of a sudden I'm like, hey, wait a second, and I hooked his nose and just changed some little things on his head, and we were like, oh, that's it. And then we just like refined it together, and it was just like this big beam of thing. As soon as we like hooked the nose, we were able to figure out the rest of it. And so it was just like finding the key characteristics about the character. It's kind of like character, um, what do you call it? Character caricature artists, is that they're just finding like key things about a person and then exaggerating it. And that's kind of what we were trying to do. So, um, you have all of them. You were awesome. Super sad that they canceled. I mean, there is some really cool stuff coming out. Like the the whole Rogue One set was really cool. Was really going to be awesome. A lot of the Marvel stuff that got canceled was going to be really cool too. Like Black Panther and um, Doctor Strange was really cool. Created by Ian Jacobs, worked on those. He was awesome. He was really talented. Um, anyways, I've got to go. I'm actually over my time, but I want to thank for everyone for coming in. Remember that I do have some Gumroad tutorials at gumroad.com/redbeard teaching most of the stuff that you saw here today was all in that tutorial, where I just go hands-on, step by step, explain all my processes. Thanks for everyone that came out tonight. I'll be back on the 19th of this month in a couple of weeks, and we'll just keep coming. I'll find some more conspiracies to talk about. Thanks for the questions and the comments, and for the recommendations with the animes, because that's going to be fun. You are amazing, Ricardo. You're amazing. So thanks again, and have a good night or morning or whatever you're doing. Just have a good one. Happy sculpting. Cheers, guys.